May 2nd, 2026. Today I woke at 9 a.m. Actually, I woke up a couple times before that, since I'm awoken at 7:25 on weekdays. I miserably stared at the digital clock on the opposite wall. This has become a routine. Every single day here feels longer than the last, and by the time I get back to my room, it already feels like something from the distant past. Less like an old friend, and more like something I once saw in a commercial. I no longer even register the two cameras pointing nearly directly at me. My body has long since internalized the fact that even where I am asleep, I am neither safe nor alone in any of the good ways. I go upstairs to find that, once again, the only option is a frozen pesto sandwich. I can't stand pesto. Suddenly I realized I'm not hungry, I say. The staff member forces a small laugh, or perhaps stifles a big one. The dread in between my lungs has been growing harder and harder to ignore today. Despite it being upwards of 27 degrees, I still wear my black cape. If I have to purchase my resolve with discomfort, then so be it. I meander my way to the Tim Hortons, despite being unable to name a single food I could stomach. A single Timbit and an iced tea. This will do until lunch. The museum is, despite it not being at all indicated, closed until noon. It sucks anyways, I'd already been, but it's free and it's there. I asked the receptionist for the wheelchair. She looks like the girl from Scott Pilgrim, the one with the glasses. She has a pretty smile. I want her to hold my hands and kiss my forehead. The museum is closed until noon. I cross the street to the library where I then sit. Although rarely do I sit per se, I recline. And I make final adjustments to my newest playlist. On my way out, I check the temporary little button-making station for a piece of paper that centers a hand to add to my collection. I leave empty-handed. I arrive at the dollar store and purchase a Baja Blast. I sit on the floor and sip it in line. The lady in front of me, or maybe behind me, gives me a look typically reserved for Goya's Saturn. Upon the cashier's answering, I find the rubber band in aisle 7. I find the rubber bands. I also buy a puzzle for tomorrow. I sit in front of the shelter. It's still about another 90 minutes until their metaphorically open doors become not closed. I spend those 90 minutes patiently wrapping my bouncy moon ball in tiny rubber bands. 3 red ones now. Eventually, I finish my drink. I listen to the Folk Crusaders version of Imjin River. It's been on my mind since first seeing the museum's exhibit on the 49th parallel. I also give someone's LCD sound system X Miles Davis mashup a try. Really? I think. Is this really all that Miles Davis has to offer? Even I can improvise like that. I continue working on my moon ball, occasionally bouncing it against my surroundings as a stress test. I was graciously gifted I was graciously gifted the decreasingly teal ball yesterday while at the sports store to get utility shoes. I cannot directly link this fact to the picture of a dead fly I may or may not have presented this worker with in private. Yesterday's soup tastes about as good as yesterday's today's soup. That is to say, it greatly appreciates the burnt toast I Trojan horse it with. I throw out the rest. That grinning fuck with a buzz cut. Holy shit. That grinning fuck with a buzz cut seems to have left his wallet on the table. Never once have or will I ever take such a wallet, but to not even consider it would be disrespectful. I take an adjacent napkin from the marketing paper remaining dispenser and blow my nose. I turn around to see him practically wearing his camera phone as glasses as he records what I can only assume is no longer a gotcha, but a consolation show. Good thing I didn't take it, I think, knowing full well I wouldn't. He must still be upset about me staring at him for 34 minutes prior day. After leaving the shelter, normally I would be allowed to stay, but I broke the previously unspoken rule of no disagreeing, and so, naturally, extended diurnal homelessness was the inevitable consequence. I sit against a tree, just outside of the main park. I spend 3 hours wrapping the ball. I'm about halfway through the bands. Oh yeah, the museum. I only have 35-ish minutes to finish what I had started 2 or 3 days before. On that day, I had rigorously absorbed every single word I saw. Thus today, the shallow ineptitude of the display was on full exhibition. I tell the girl with a pretty smile that she has a pretty smile. Throughout the day, I bounce my hard-earned moon ball every now and then. It had already looked like a ball of yarn when spun, and now it frayed like one. I criss the street to the library, where I managed to reanimate my cell phone just long enough to feel worse. The library closes. One might expect that since dinner time for literally everyone that attends it includes the hour beforehand, that would include me. I am not one. Regardless, lacking anything better to do, I decide to find out. Great. The one who bestowed this learning experience upon me answers the door. She's already smirking. Is there anything I can help you with, May? She rejoices slowly. I can think of several. She flattens her lips together and feigns her third best recollection of the feeling known as concern. I can't help you if you don't tell me what you need, her ample esophagus sings. I remain silent. If I knew she'd be there, I wouldn't have bothered coming at all. Her brazen eyes remain insultingly steady upon mine. Often my gaze is my only recourse. Her uncountenance calls to mind Goya's dollar store lady. I asked to speak with a different staff member. Surprisingly, she abides. She had made in one. Maybe Gluttony's child likes to play with its food. I tell the other staff member not to report back when she, against my urging, goes to ask on my behalf. She doesn't. I don't know if the last thing I see in her eyes is guilt or pity, but it certainly isn't resolve. I sit proudly in the blazing heat for the entirety of the remaining... I wrote heat again, remaining half hour. I didn't write that, but I'm saying that. If either employee bothered to look up from their phones, they would have seen my pathetic display live on camera. I feel faint, but I refuse to. Mantra segment time. By the time I open my eyes, a new kind of hate has sprouted within me. I let it. My eyes burn shell-shocked. Boba tells me to come get pizza. I love pizza. I did at the time of writing. 3 vegetable slices. Let's start with 2, it says to me. Let's. This is another new rule, it would seem. I would admire her commitment to proving a point. Flower fell on me. I would admire her commitment to proving a point if her point wasn't flexing on the famished homeless. I don't go back for that 3rd slice. I've been known to prove a point or two myself. I spend an hour sitting blankly in the courtyard. I look at the messages in the UFO 50 server. The last time I meaningfully played it was a year before. I had played with the desperation of somebody that knows that there will be great darkness to follow. I quietly realize that I am now the person that person set out to be. I don't smile. I choke down some tea. It's something to do. The small amount left in the cup reminds me of spit up. With this revelation, it is time to head to bed. The night shift's grunt grants me access to the aforementioned bedroom. As is my ritual, I gaze at my effigy. That makes 1. Thus is it... Fuck! Like the second last line, that part's important. Sorry. I didn't mean to swear. Thus it has been written. By the way, I threw the bouncy ball out. Good night, Stinky.